Wonderful. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is public participation, and before we start that, I will read what we have about public participation. The board welcomes and encourages public participation. We respectfully ask that you adhere to the procedures and the decorum provided in our board policy. Your comments should be limited to 3 minutes, and Mr. Harris at the end of the table will hold up the 1 minute and 30-second warnings. And questions asked during public participation should be placed in writing and given to Mr. Bounds, and will receive a written response in a timely manner. The first person we have is Renardo Smoke, and you may correct my pronunciation. Is that Smoke?
Smoke.
Mr. Smoke? Okay. And the next person is Ms. Murphy.
Good evening. At the last board meeting, the board was given the 10-day enrollment report. Included in the report was some historical information indicating the 10-day enrollment from previous years for comparison purposes. After the meeting, I was speaking with Mr. Bounds, and he made the comment that District 5 had grown significantly compared to the 10-day report in 2008, the year the bond referendum passed. And he pointed to the report that had just been presented to the board and the public. But I had with me a copy of the actual 10-day report from 2008 that was given to the board back then, which I showed to him. It appears that the enrollment report given to the board at the last meeting was off by 300 students compared to the actual report presented in 2008. That's half an elementary school. But according to the actual report from 2008 that I did verify after the last meeting, this year's enrollment is actually 61 students less than the year the referendum passed. Now, it's possible y'all are comparing apples with oranges. If that's the case, being inconsistent with your annual reporting is not a good thing. But I'm bringing these deficiencies to your attention for several reasons. One, we have just built a new high school, and we're in the middle of building a new middle school, and building the new elementary school is on the short-term horizon. Back before the referendum passed, exponential growth in year-round schools were threatened if the referendum didn't pass. But now we have even fewer students than we had back then. It's important to have the right information. Apparently, the enrollment report given to the board at the last board meeting included incorrect data. But the problem is that both reports, last board meetings and the one in 2008, have now been enshrined in their respective board meeting packets on the district's website. Which report is correct, and shouldn't it be corrected so that there's no confusion or misunderstanding as to the actual growth or lack of it? 3, important decisions are made involving enrollment numbers. Budget and tax increases hinge on how many students are in District 5. Schools are dependent on having accurate enrollment information in determining the number of teachers needed to serve the students. The number of students is directly related to whether more classrooms or schools are needed. It's important that District 5 provide the correct information for a number of reasons. Lastly, when reviewing the reports that you all received, there is something that resonated with me, and it should with you, particularly with the two of you who are up for re-election and who voted on the last increase this year, Ms. Baumgartner and Mr. White. In the last 2 years, District 5 grew a total of 170 students. But even though we are still below 2008's enrollment, in that 2-year period, the board's budget grew by $16 million. Growth in students, 170. Growth in budgets, $16 million. Please be cognizant of the data you receive and the impact it has and you have on our community. It is easy to make mistakes on numbers, but it's important to get it right. Thank you.
All right, that ends our public participation. Next is our action agenda.